The cafeteria at Naval Station Bremerton hummed with the familiar chaos of lunchtime. Steel trays clattered against metal rails. Boots scuffed across linoleum floors worn smooth by decades of service. Conversations bounced off walls painted that particular shade of institutional gray that every sailor knew by heart. The smell of overcooked vegetables and coffee that had been sitting too long filled the air. It was Tuesday, just another Tuesday in December 2024. Cold rain pelted the windows overlooking the Puget Sound. Inside, 200 sailors ate and talked and laughed, unaware that in the next 5 minutes, everything would change. She walked in quietly. No fanfare, no announcement. Just a woman in standard-issue PT gear, navy blue sweatshirt with the hood pulled up, matching pants, running shoes that had seen better days. No name tape, no unit patch, no rank insignia. Nothing to identify her as anything other than another body moving through the machine of military routine. Most people didn't notice her. Why would they? Naval Station Bremerton process thousands of personnel every month? Faces blurred together after a while, but a few did notice. The ones with sharper instincts. The ones trained to observe, to categorize threats, to assess vulnerabilities. Chief Petty Officer Dalton Kane noticed. Kane sat at the corner table with his team, 7 SEAL operators, fresh off a successful Hell Week training cycle. They were riding high on accomplishment and testosterone, that dangerous combination that made young warriors feel invincible. Kane himself was 42, 20 years in the Navy, most of it with SEAL teams. He had the weathered face of a man who'd spent too much time in the sun and wind, and the hardened eyes of someone who'd seen combat up close. They called him Hatchet, not because he was particularly brutal, though he could be when the mission required it. The nickname came from his first deployment in Afghanistan, when he'd breached a door with a literal hatchet after his explosive charge failed. The Taliban fighters inside never knew what hit them. The story had followed him through 3 teams and 2 decades. Kane watched the woman move through the serving line. Something about her bothered him. The way she carried herself, maybe. Too confident for a recruit. Too purposeful for someone lost. She moved like water flowing around obstacles without seeming to notice them. Her posture was too straight, too controlled. Military bearing that came from years, not weeks. But no rank, no identification. That violated protocol. That was sloppy. And Kane hated sloppy. "You see this?" he muttered to the operator next to him. Petty Officer First Class Derek Sutton, 28, stocky, with the kind of permanent scowl that came from too many Middle Eastern deployments. Sutton glanced up from his meatloaf. "See what her?" Kane nodded toward the woman. She'd finished getting her food and was scanning the cafeteria for a seat. No insignia, no nothing. Either she's brand new and completely clueless, or something's off. Sutton shrugged. Maybe she just got here. Maybe her uniforms are still being processed. "Then she shouldn't be in the cafeteria," Kane said. His voice carried that edge of certainty that comes from 2 decades of enforcing standards. Protocol is protocol. The woman found an empty table near the windows. She set her tray down with deliberate care, sat with her back straight, began eating slowly, methodically, eyes forward. She didn't look around nervously like a new recruit would, didn't try to make herself invisible. She simply existed in that space with absolute calm. It drove Kane crazy. "I'm going to say something," he announced, pushing back from the table. Sutton grabbed his arm. "Come on, Chief. Let it go. Not our problem." Kane shook him off. "Standards matter. If we let one person slide, where does it stop?" He stood his chair, scraping loudly against the floor. Several nearby tables glanced over. Kane's team exchanged looks. They knew that tone, that body language. Chief Kane had decided something needed correcting, and nothing would stop him now. He crossed the cafeteria with the confident stride of a man who'd never been told no. Other sailors instinctively moved out of his way. The SEAL trident on his uniform commanded automatic respect and a healthy dose of fear. Kane had cultivated that reputation carefully over the years. Respect through intimidation. It worked. He stopped 3 feet from her table. She didn't look up. Kept eating her food with that same measured pace, like he wasn't even there. "Excuse me," Kane said, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. Loud enough to make his presence unavoidable. She took another bite of her meal, chewed, swallowed, still didn't look up. Kane felt heat rising in his chest. Being ignored was worse than being challenged. I'm talking to you, sailor. Finally, slowly, she raised her eyes, not her head, just her eyes. And for the first time, Kane got a good look at her face. Mid to late 20s, maybe 30 at most. Sharp features, pale skin that suggested she spent time in cold climates. But it was the eyes that stopped him cold for just a fraction of a second. Gray-blue like ice over deep water. And completely, utterly calm. The kind of calm that comes from staring down worse things than an angry SEAL chief. Can I help you? Her voice was quiet, almost soft, but there was steel underneath. Not hostility, just absolute certainty. Kane recovered quickly, pushing past that momentary hesitation. Yeah, you can help me by explaining where your uniform is. Where's your rank? Where's your name tape? Your unit patch you lost or something. A few nearby tables had gone quiet now. People were watching. This was entertainment. Chief Kane correcting some clueless sailor. A story they'd tell later. The woman set down her fork with deliberate care. I'm not lost. Then where's your identification? Kane's voice rose slightly. He was performing now, aware of the audience. Every sailor on this base wears proper uniform or has proper authorization. You're wearing PT gear with nothing. That's a violation. That's disrespect to the uniform and everyone who wears it properly. She looked at him for a long moment, those ice water eyes studying him like a scientist examining a specimen. Not angry, not intimidated, just observing. My uniform is appropriate for my current status, she said finally. Kane laughed harsh and sharp. Your current status? What status is that? Lost recruit who can't follow basic regulations? No, the single word dropped like a stone. Then what? Kane spread his arms, playing to the crowd now. Half the cafeteria was watching. His team was grinning. This was Chief Kane doing what he did best, enforcing standards, maintaining order. You CIA, some spook who thinks the rules don't apply. I didn't say that. Then answer the question. Kane leaned forward, hands on her table, invading her space, establishing dominance. What's your rank, sailor? Since you're not lost, since you're not clueless, tell me, right now, what is your rank? The cafeteria held its breath. 200 people waiting for the response, some expecting tears, some expecting an apology, Kane expecting submission. The woman looked up at him, held his gaze, and spoke two words that would change everything. Classified. The word hung in the air like smoke. For 3 full seconds, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The cafeteria had gone from buzzing chaos to absolute silence, so complete you could hear the rain hitting the windows. Classified. Kane blinked. What? My rank is classified. She said it again, same quiet tone, same absolute certainty. Which means you don't have clearance to know it. Someone at a nearby table whispered, what the hell? Kane straightened up, his spinning racing. Classified rank, that was only 3 things. CIA non-official cover operatives, JSOC Tier 1 operators on deep missions, or presidential security detail. And none of those people walked around alone in a naval cafeteria eating meatloaf. That's bullshit, Kane said, but his voice had lost some of its edge. Doubt crept in. You can't just claim classified rank. I didn't claim anything. She picked up her fork again. You asked, I answered. Now I'd appreciate if you'd let me finish my meal. Kane's face flushed red. Being dismissed, being told to walk away. In front of his team, in front of half the base. Listen to me very carefully. The only people on this base with classified ranks walk with security details. They don't grab lunch in the enlisted cafeteria wearing PT gear like some walk-away chief. 3 words. Quiet as before. But something in her tone made every combat veteran in the room tense. It was the tone of someone who'd given a final warning. Someone who wouldn't give another. Kane's hands clenched into fists. You got 3 seconds to tell me who the hell you are or I'm calling the MPs and... The cafeteria doors swished open behind him. Kane didn't turn, didn't want to break eye contact, didn't want to show weakness. But he saw the woman's eyes flick past him. Saw something change in her expression. Not fear, not relief, just acknowledgement. Heavy footsteps approached. Professional, measured. 2 sets, a voice Kane knew spoke from behind him. Commander Gareth Blackwell, Station Operations Officer. Chief Kane, step back. Kane turned ready to explain to justify. Blackwell stood 5 feet away, tall and lean, with gray threading through his dark hair. Next to him, Captain Silas Vaughn, shorter but broader, with the kind of face that looked perpetually disappointed. Sir, this sailor was, Kane started. I said step back, Chief. Blackwell's tone allowed no argument. Now, Kane stepped back, confusion replacing anger. Why would a commander and a Captain Blackwell and Vaughn walk past Kane like he was furniture? Approached the woman's table, and then in perfect unison, both officers came to attention. Ma'am, Blackwell said, his voice carrying that specific tone of respect that seasoned officers reserve for very few people. Your briefing room's prepared. We apologize for the delay. The cafeteria collectively held its breath. The woman stood picking up her tray. She was taller than Kane expected, maybe 5'9" or 5'10". Athletic build, but lean like a marathon runner. She looked at Blackwell and gave a slight nod. Captain Vaughn spoke next, and his voice carried across the silent cafeteria. Colonel Strand, if you'll follow us. Colonel. The word detonated like a flashbang. Someone dropped a fork, and it clattered impossibly loud. A tray hit the floor somewhere. Kane felt his stomach drop through his boots. Colonel, not lieutenant, not captain. Colonel, that meant 06. That meant she outranked everyone in this cafeteria by at least 2 grades. That meant the woman Colonel Strand picked up her tray and walked it to the disposal area. Emptied it, placed it on the rack. Every movement calm and measured, as if the entire room wasn't staring at her in shock. As if a chief petty officer hadn't just publicly humiliated himself. She walked back past Kane's table, stopped, looked directly at him with those ice water eyes. Next time, Chief, she said, her voice quiet enough that only Kane and his immediate area could hear, don't confuse silence with insignificance. Then she walked away, Blackwell and Vaughn flanking her like honor guards. The cafeteria doors swished shut behind them. For 5 full seconds, absolute silence. Then like a dam breaking sound exploded. Conversations erupted, laughter shocked and nervous. Someone at the back of the cafeteria yelled, "Holy shit!" Kane stood frozen, his face cycling through shades of red and white. His team stared at him with expressions ranging from shock to barely suppressed amusement. Sutton opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Chief, he finally managed. Did you just shut up? Kane said quietly. You told a colonel that she was, I said shut up. But it was too late. The story was already spreading. By the time Kane made it back to his table, phones were out. People were texting, calling, posting. In the age of social media, his humiliation would be base-wide in minutes, fleet-wide by evening. Kane sat heavily in his chair, staring at his half-eaten lunch. His hands were shaking. Not from fear, from rage and humiliation and the sick realization that he'd just torpedoed his career in front of witnesses. Petty Officer Jackson, the youngest of his team at 24, spoke up hesitantly. Chief, how were you supposed to know she wasn't wearing any? It doesn't matter. Kane's voice was dead. I should have known, should have read the signs. The way she carried herself, the way she responded. You don't get that kind of calm from rank. You get it from experience. Real experience. The kind that makes Colonel at 28. She's 28, Sutton asked. Look at her face. She can't be more than 30. Kane pushed his tray away. Food held no appeal now. His stomach churned with acid and shame. Which means she's fast-tracked. Which means special operations background. Which means she's forgotten more about combat than I'll ever know. His phone buzzed. Text from his team commander. My office, now. Kane stood, his legs heavy. The walk to the exit felt like a death march. Every table he passed, conversation stopped. Eyes followed him. Some pitying, some gleeful. The mighty Chief Kane brought low by his own arrogance. As he pushed through the cafeteria doors into the cold December rain, one thought kept circling through his mind. Who the hell was Colonel Strand? The briefing room was 5 levels below the main administration building in a section of Naval Station Bremerton that didn't officially exist on any public map. The elevator required biometric verification. The hallway required a second scan and a PIN code. The briefing room door required both officers to enter their codes simultaneously. This was where secrets lived. Captain Rhea Strand stood at the head of a conference table that could seat 20, but currently held only 4. Blackwell and Vaughn sat to her right. To her left, a woman in civilian clothes with a Department of Defense contractor badge. Alexandra Hartford, intelligence analyst, 36 years old, with the tired eyes of someone who'd seen too many classified cables. The wall behind Rhea displayed a massive digital map of the North Cascades mountain range in Washington state. Red circles marked specific locations. Blue triangles indicated elevation points. Yellow lines showed suspected patrol routes. Target confirmed as Colonel Victor Draven, Hartford said, her fingers dancing across a tablet. The map zoomed in on a compound nestled in a valley between 2 peaks. Former Spetsnaz recruited by Soviet military intelligence in 1982. Served in Afghanistan, Chechnya, and various black sites we're still identifying. Defected in '97 after the Soviet collapse went private. Founded Iron Veil Security Contractors in 2003. Private military company, Blackwell clarified, though everyone in the room already knew. PMC on paper, Hartford corrected. In practice, they're guns for hire with no national loyalty. Draven's client list includes drug cartels, war criminals, and at least 3 nations on our sanctions list. The man's a ghost who commands ghosts. Rhea studied the compound on screen. Old architecture, probably dating back to the 1980s. CIA safe house from the Cold War, if her briefing materials were accurate. Draven had a thing for repurposing American infrastructure. Poetic in a twisted way. Current status, she asked. 8 operatives confirmed inside the compound as of 0600 this morning. All former special forces from various nations. Russian, British, South African, 1 American. Hartford pulled up personnel files. 8 faces appeared on screen. Hard faces. Killer faces. Intel suggests Draven is preparing to sell classified American intelligence to Chinese MSS. The transaction is scheduled for approximately 48 hours from now. Vaughn leaned forward. What kind of intelligence? The kind that gets people killed, Hartford said flatly. Names of deep cover CIA operatives. Locations of forward operating bases we haven't publicly acknowledged. Satellite surveillance patterns. Signal intelligence protocols. If this data reaches Beijing, we lose our strategic advantage in the Pacific theater. Permanently. Silence filled the room. Rhea kept her eyes on Draven's file. The photograph showed a man in his late 60s with a scarred face and eyes like frozen stone. Below the photo, a list of confirmed kills. 47. Those were just the confirmed ones. How did he get this information? Rhea asked. We're still investigating, Hartford said, which was intelligence speak, for we have no idea and it terrifies us. Blackwell cleared his throat. Colonel Strand, I need to address something before we continue. This mission has been flagged for special consideration. Rhea turned to face him. Meaning we're aware of your personal connection to Colonel Draven. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 5 degrees. Rhea's expression didn't change, but her fingers tightened slightly on the edge of the table. My personnel file is classified above your clearance level, Commander. How do you know about my father? Because, a new voice said from the doorway. I told them. Everyone turned. A man stood in the entrance, mid-60s, with steel gray hair, cut military short, and eyes that had seen too many wars. He wore civilian clothes, expensive suit, no tie. But his posture screamed military intelligence. Director Pemberton, Hartford said, standing quickly. Sir, I wasn't informed you'd be attending this briefing. Director Theodore Pemberton, Central Intelligence Agency, Special Activities Division. Rhea knew him by reputation. Her father had known him personally. Sit down, Ms. Hartford. Pemberton entered the room, the door sealing behind him with a hydraulic hiss. Colonel Strand, I apologize for the intrusion, but this situation requires my direct oversight. Because of my father, Rhea said, not a question, a statement. Yes. Pemberton didn't sit, stood at the opposite end of the table from Rhea. Colonel Marcus Strand was one of my best officers. His death 5 years ago in Syria was a significant loss to American intelligence. The fact that Victor Draven was responsible makes this mission complicated. Complicated how? Rhea's voice remained level, but everyone in the room could feel the tension. Complicated because revenge is a poor motivator for command decisions, Pemberton said bluntly. Complicated because you're the youngest colonel in special operations history and you have everything to prove and nothing to lose. Complicated because if you go into that compound with your heart instead of your head, 8 highly trained killers will put you in the ground next to your father. Rhea held his gaze. With respect, Director, if you doubted my capability, you wouldn't have approved me for this mission. I don't doubt your capability. I doubt your objectivity. Then let me be very clear. Maria straightened to her full height. 5 years ago, Victor Draven ambushed a CIA tactical team in northeastern Syria. 9 operators died, including my father. Draven was conducting arms deals with both sides of the civil war, playing all parties against each other for profit. My father discovered this. My father tried to stop it. My father paid the price. She paused, making eye contact with each person in the room. Since that day, I have spent 5 years preparing, training, studying Draven's tactics, his psychology, his methods. I have pursued this mission through proper channels with appropriate authorization following every protocol, not because I want revenge, but because I want justice. There's a difference, Umam. Pemberton studied her for a long moment. And if justice requires you to kill him, then I'll kill him, professionally, efficiently, without hesitation. And if justice requires you to bring him back alive for interrogation, Rhea didn't blink. Then I'll bring him back alive. Sir, I understand your concern, but I'm not some traumatized daughter on a vendetta. I'm a United States Army officer with 8 years of combat experience, including 3 tours in Afghanistan and 2 in Syria. I've led 47 successful operations. I've made the hard calls. I've pulled the trigger when necessary and held fire when appropriate. My father taught me well. He taught me that emotion is information, not instruction. I feel what I feel, but I act on training and mission parameters. Nothing more, nothing less. The room was silent except for the hum of electronics and ventilation. Finally, Pemberton nodded. Very well, Colonel, the mission is yours, but understand this clearly. If at any point I determine your personal involvement is compromising operational effectiveness, I will pull you out and send someone else. Are we clear? Crystal clear, sir. Good. Pemberton moved toward the door, then paused. Your father would be proud of you, but he'd also tell you the same thing I'm telling you. Don't let the dead dictate decisions for the living. He left, the door sealed. The room exhaled collectively. Hartford broke the silence. Well, that was intense. Rhea ignored her, turning back to the map. What's the terrain like around the compound? Blackwell pulled up topographical data. Rough. Elevation varies from 4,000 to 7,000 feet. Dense forests, steep valleys, limited access points. December weather means snow ice freezing temperatures. Draven chose the location specifically because it's defensible and difficult to assault. Which means he's expecting us, Rhea said. Probably, Vaughn agreed. Intel suggests he has early warning systems, perimeter sensors, possibly drones for aerial surveillance. A direct assault would be suicide. Then we don't assault directly. Rhea traced a line on the map with her finger. We insert here 15 kilometers north. Trek in on foot, avoid all known sensor grids. Hit the compound during the pre-dawn window when human alertness is lowest. Fast surgical overwhelming force. In and out before they can mount an effective response. You'll need a team, Blackwell said. 6 operators. Small enough to move quietly, large enough to handle 8 hostiles. I'll pull together a roster of available personnel. No, Rhea cut him off. I select my team personally. I need people I can trust. People who follow orders without question. Vaughn exchanged a glance with Blackwell. Colonel, about personnel selection, there's a situation you need to be aware of. Chief Petty Officer Dalton Kane, the SEAL from the Cafeteria. Rhea's expression hardened. What about him, Mohanim? He's being assigned to your team. For the first time since entering the briefing room, Rhea showed genuine emotion, anger sharp and cold. Absolutely not. That man is a liability. He's arrogant, impulsive, and lacks basic situational awareness. I don't want him anywhere near this operation. It's not a request, Colonel, Vaughn said quietly. It's an order from me. Rhea stared at him. Explain. Vaughn stood walking to the window overlooking the sound. Rain streaked the glass. Chief Kane has 20 years of experience, 3 combat tours, 52 successful operations. He's one of the best breachers in the entire SEAL community. When you need a door opened, a wall collapsed, or an obstacle removed, he's your man. I don't care how good he is technically if he can't follow basic military courtesy, which is exactly why I'm assigning him to you. Vaughn turned back. Colonel, what happened in that cafeteria was unacceptable. Kane humiliated himself and this command. He showed poor judgment, worse impulse control, and complete lack of situational awareness. Under normal circumstances, I'd court-martial him. Then do it. I can't, because we need him. More specifically, you need him. His technical skills are too valuable, especially for this mission. Draven's compound has reinforced doors, possible explosive traps, hardened defensive positions. Kane can handle all of that, but his attitude needs correction. His ego needs checking. And the best way to do that is to put him under the command of the officer he disrespected. Make him earn back his honor. Make him prove he deserves the trident he wears. Rhea was silent for a long moment. This is punishment for both of us. Yes, Vaughn admitted. For him, it's consequence. For you, it's a test. Can you command someone who started by disrespecting you? Can you turn an enemy into an asset? That's what leadership is, Colonel. Not commanding people who already respect you, but earning respect from people who don't. Rhea wanted to argue, wanted to refuse, but she knew military politics when she saw it. This wasn't a suggestion. It was an order disguised as professional development. Fine, she said finally, but if he jeopardizes this mission in any way, I remove him. Immediately. No discussion. Agreed. And he follows my orders without question or comment. I don't have time to manage his ego. Understood. Rhea turned back to the map. I'll need 5 more operators. I want their files on my desk in 2 hours. Mission brief is tomorrow at 0600. Wheels up at 0800. That gives us 36 hours to plan, rehearse, and execute before Draven completes his transaction. You'll have everything you need, Blackwell promised. As the briefing concluded and people filed out, Hartford approached Rhea quietly. Colonel, can I ask you something off the record? Depends on the question. Are you really okay with then going after the man who killed your father? Rhea met her eyes. At Hartford, my father died doing his job. He knew the risks. He accepted them. Hunting Draven isn't about closure or revenge. It's about finishing what my father started. Draven is a threat to national security. He's killed American operators, sold American secrets, profited from American blood. Whether he killed my father or someone else's father doesn't change the mission. He needs to be stopped. I'm qualified to stop him. Therefore, I will. That's a very clinical way of looking at it. Yes, Rhea said, it is, because that's the only way I can look at it and still function. The moment I make this personal, I lose. So I don't make it personal. I make it professional, just like my father taught me. Hartford nodded slowly. He'd be proud of you. Maybe, Rhea said, or maybe he'd tell me I'm an idiot for walking into Draven's trap. Guess I'll never know. She left the briefing room, walking through secured corridors toward the surface. Her mind already racing through tactical scenarios. Equipment needs contingency plans. This was what she'd trained for, what she'd prepared for. 5 years of grief channeled into preparation. 5 years of loss transformed into purpose. Victor Draven had taken her father. Now she would take everything from him. But first she had to deal with Chief Dalton Kane. That she suspected might be the harder mission. The rain had stopped by the time Rhea emerged from the underground complex, but the sky remained heavy with clouds the color of old steel. She checked her watch. 14:30 hours. The cafeteria incident had happened less than 3 hours ago, but it felt like days. Her phone buzzed. Text from Blackwell. Kane waiting outside Building 7. Rhea changed direction, heading toward the administrative complex. Building 7 housed SEAL team offices, armories, and training facilities. The walk took 10 minutes through the base's winding pathways. Sailors moved around her with that peculiar awareness that comes from seeing someone who outranks you, but whose face you don't recognize. Building 7 loomed ahead, a blocky concrete structure that had been old when her father was a young lieutenant. She climbed the steps and pushed through the heavy doors into a lobby that smelled of gun oil and sweat. Chief Dalton Kane stood near the window, hands clasped behind his back, staring out at nothing. He'd changed into full working uniform. Every crease perfect, every ribbon aligned, boots polished to a mirror shine. He turned when he heard her boots on the tile floor, came to attention immediately, hand snapping up in a salute so crisp it could cut glass. "Colonel Strand," he said. His voice was steady, professional, completely devoid of the arrogance from the cafeteria. "Chief Petty Officer Dalton Kane reporting as ordered, ma'am." Rhea returned the salute. "At ease, Chief." She studied him for a moment. 42 years old according to his file. 20 years in the Navy, 16 with SEAL teams, Combat Action Ribbon, Bronze Star with Valor device, Purple Heart. An impressive record marred only by occasional disciplinary notes for excessive aggression and difficulty with authority. "I assume Captain Vaughn briefed you on your assignment," Rhea said. "Yes, ma'am. I'm assigned to your operational team for the North Cascades mission." "And how do you feel about that?" Kane's jaw tightened slightly. "My feelings are irrelevant, ma'am. I follow orders." "That's not what I asked." Rhea walked closer, maintaining eye contact. "I asked how you feel. Because if you're going into combat with me, I need to know your headspace. Resentment gets people killed. Anger clouds judgment. So I'll ask again, how do you feel about being assigned to my team after what happened in the cafeteria?" Kane was silent for several seconds. When he spoke, his voice was quieter, more genuine. "Honestly, ma'am, I feel like an idiot. I feel ashamed. I made assumptions based on incomplete information, and those assumptions made me act like a jackass in front of 200 witnesses. I disrespected you and the uniform you wear. There's no excuse for that." "No," Rhea agreed, "there isn't." "I understand this assignment is punishment, ma'am. I understand you don't want me on your team. I wouldn't want me either. But I can promise you this. Whatever you saw in that cafeteria, whatever impression I gave you, that's not who I am in the field. When the bullets start flying, I do my job. I follow orders. I keep my people alive. That's all I've got to offer." Rhea considered this. There was something genuine in his voice now. The arrogance had been stripped away, leaving behind something harder and more honest. "Captain Vaughn tells me you're the best breacher in the SEAL community," she said. "I'm good at what I do, ma'am." "Good isn't enough. I need excellent. I need someone who can open any door, defeat any lock, bypass any security system." "Can you do that?" "Yes, ma'am. Even under fire, especially under fire." Rhea nodded slowly. "Here's how this is going to work, Chief. You're on my team because I need your technical skills. Not because I trust you, not because I respect you, but because the mission requires your particular expertise. You will follow my orders without question or hesitation. You will not second-guess my decisions. You will not offer unsolicited opinions. You will do your job professionally and efficiently. Do you understand, Oye?" "Yes, ma'am." "If you fail to meet these expectations, I will remove you from the team and recommend disciplinary action to Captain Vaughn. If your actions jeopardize the mission or endanger team members, the consequences will be severe. Are we clear?" "Crystal clear, ma'am." "Good." Rhea pulled out her phone and checked the time. "Mission briefing is tomorrow morning at 0600. Between now and then, I need you to prepare your breaching kit for cold weather operations in mountainous terrain. Expect reinforced doors, possible explosive traps, and hardened defensive positions. We'll have one chance to get in fast and clean. If you can't open what needs opening, people die." "Questions?" "No, ma'am." "Dismissed." Kane saluted sharply and turned to leave. He made it 3 steps before Rhea spoke again. "Chief," he stopped, turned back at "Ma'am. One more thing. The man we're going after killed my father 5 years ago. 9 operators died in that ambush. Good people. People who had families, friends, futures. This mission is personal for me, but I will not let that personal connection compromise operational effectiveness. I expect the same from you. Can you give me that?" Kane met her eyes. "Yes, ma'am. You have my word." "Your word means nothing to me yet, Chief, but your actions will. Prove yourself in the field and we'll be fine. Fail and we're done." "Understood." "Understood, ma'am." This time when he left, Rhea let him go. She watched through the window as he crossed the parking lot to a beat-up Ford truck, climbed in and drove away. Her phone buzzed. "Blackwell. Team roster ready for your review? Conference room 3. Rhea headed deeper into Building 7, taking stairs down to the secured floors. Conference Room 3 was small, designed for team briefings. A table, 8 chairs, one large monitor on the wall displaying 6 personnel files. Blackwell stood when she entered. "Colonel, I've pulled together what I think are the best available operators for this mission." Rhea studied the screen. 6 faces stared back at her. "Let's start with intelligence," she said. Blackwell pulled up the first file. Lieutenant Sterling Calloway, age 26, Navy Intelligence Specialist, 3 years active duty, fluent in Russian and Mandarin. Top of his class at the Defense Language Institute. Photographic memory, tactical analysis skills that tested in the 99th percentile. The photograph showed a young man with sharp features and intense eyes behind military-issue glasses. "He's never been in a firefight," Rhea observed. "No, ma'am, but he's completed all required combat training and scored expert on the rifle range. More importantly, he can read terrain, predict enemy movements, and process information faster than anyone I've worked with." Rhea nodded. "Approved. Who's next?" Medical, Sergeant Ivy Brennan, age 31. Army Special Forces qualified 18 Delta medic. 2 tours, Afghanistan, 1 Iraq. Experienced in trauma medicine under fire. The woman in the photograph had red hair pulled back in a tight bun and green eyes that looked like they'd seen things they couldn't unsee. Scars visible on her hands. Combat record. Extensive. Brennan was attached to ODA 574 during the Kandahar operations in 2019. Her team got ambushed during a village clearing operation. 3 wounded, 1 critical. She kept all 3 alive through a 6-hour firefight and extraction. Silver Star citation. She'll do. Next. Demolitions. Corporal Tucker Graves, age 29. Marine Corps combat engineer. Specializes in breaching explosive ordnance disposal and structural assessment. Disciplinary record. 2 Article 15s for unauthorized detonations during training. Nothing major. He likes to push boundaries, but he's never put anyone at risk. Rhea studied Graves' face. The grin bothered her slightly. Conditional approval. If he can't follow orders precisely, he's gone. Make that clear to him. Yes, ma'am. What about weapons specialist? Blackwell pulled up the 5th file. Sergeant Wyatt Rhodes, age 38. Army Rangers, 12 years active. Expert marksman, advanced urban warfare instructor. Rhodes had the weathered face of someone who'd spent years in the sun and wind. Gray threading through his brown hair, but the eyes themselves were sharp and alert. "He's close to retirement age," she noted, too. "Yes, ma'am, but he's chosen to stay active. Says he's got one more good mission in him before he hangs it up." Something about that phrase resonated with Rhea. One more good mission. She understood that feeling. Approved. That's 5 plus Kane makes 6. Perfect size for this operation. Blackwell nodded and closed the files. "I'll have them report for briefing tomorrow morning." "Anything else you need, ma'am?" "Yes, I need satellite imagery of the target area updated to within the last 12 hours. Weather forecast for the next 72 hours. And I want to see the equipment manifest. I'll have everything ready by 1800 hours." "Good." After Blackwell left, Rhea sat alone in the conference room, staring at the blank monitor. Tomorrow at this time, she'd be in the air heading toward the North Cascades, toward Victor Draven, toward answers about her father's death. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She recognized the area code. "Virginia, Langley." She answered. "Colonel Strand." "Colonel, this is Director Pemberton. Do you have a secure line?" Rhea looked around the empty conference room. "Secure enough." "Good, I wanted to follow up on our conversation earlier. There's information about your father's death that wasn't in your official briefing." Rhea's grip tightened on the phone. "What information?" "The ambush in Syria 5 years ago. The official report states that Victor Draven's forces engaged your father's team during a routine reconnaissance operation. 9 killed, no survivors, classified as combat casualties in the line of duty." "I've read the report, Director. But you haven't read the classified addendum because it doesn't exist in any system you have access to." Rhea stood up. "What are you telling me?" Pemberton was quiet for a moment. "I'm telling you that the ambush wasn't routine. Your father wasn't on reconnaissance. He was there specifically to apprehend Victor Draven. He had intelligence that Draven was meeting with Iranian Revolutionary Guard officers to sell them classified NATO tactical data. Your father's team was supposed to capture Draven alive, but something went wrong. Everything went wrong. The intelligence was faulty or possibly deliberately wrong. Draven was expecting them. He had twice the forces we anticipated in hardened positions. Your father's team walked into a kill box. They never had a chance. Ria's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Who gave my father the faulty intelligence? That's the question I've been trying to answer for 5 years. Pemberton sighed, and for the first time he sounded old, tired. The original source was flagged as highly reliable, but after the ambush, the asset disappeared. Never heard from again. Either killed by Draven to cover tracks or paid off and relocated. You think someone set up my father deliberately? I think it's possible. I think there may have been a leak somewhere in the chain. Someone who wanted that operation to fail. But I have no proof, and everyone involved has either been transferred, retired, or is dead. Ria processed this, her mind racing. Why are you telling me this now? Because you're walking into the same situation your father did. You're hunting Draven based on intelligence from sources that may or may not be reliable. And I need you to understand that Draven is more than just a rogue operator selling secrets. He's careful. He's patient. And he's very, very good at making his enemies come to him on his terms. You think this is a trap? I think it could be. The intelligence about the Chinese transaction, the location in North Cascades, the convenient timing. It all feels a little too perfect, but we can't ignore it. If Draven really is selling that data, we have to stop him. We just have to do it smart. What do you recommend? Trust your instincts, question everything, and watch your team. Not everyone who wears the uniform deserves it. The line went dead. Ria stood there holding the phone, Pemberton's words echoing in her mind. Watch your team. What did that mean? Was he suggesting one of her operators might be compromised? She pulled out her laptop and began running background checks that went deeper than the official files. Financial records, communication patterns, travel history. If there was a leak, she'd find it. The next morning arrived cold and dark. Ria had spent most of the night reviewing files, cross-referencing data. She'd found nothing conclusive. Everyone's background checked out. But that didn't mean they were clean. At 05:45 hours, she entered the briefing room. 5 operators were already there standing at attention. Kane Calloway, Brennan Graves, and Rhodes, all in full tactical uniforms. At ease, Ria said, setting her gear bag on the table. Thank you for being early. We have a lot to cover and not much time. She activated the wall monitor. The North Cascades compound appeared along with topographical data and satellite imagery. Our target is Colonel Victor Draven, former Spetsnaz, currently operating a private military contractor company called Iron Veil. Intelligence suggests he's preparing to sell classified American data to Chinese MSS. Our mission is to infiltrate his compound, neutralize his forces, and either capture Draven alive or eliminate him if capture isn't feasible. She zoomed in on the compound. This facility is located approximately 80 kilometers northeast of our current position. Old CIA black site from the 1980s repurposed by Draven as his operational headquarters. Current intelligence puts 8 hostiles inside, all former special forces from various nations, all highly trained, all extremely dangerous. Calloway raised his hand slightly. Ma'am, do we have updated satellite imagery? As of 0300 this morning. Ria pulled up the latest images. Thermal scan shows 9 heat signatures, 8 expected personnel, 1 unknown. Could be a prisoner, could be a client, could be additional security. 9 versus 6, Graves muttered. I like those odds. Don't. Ria's voice was sharp. Overconfidence gets you killed. These aren't insurgents with AK-47s. These are professionals with training equal to or better than ours. We survive this by being smarter, faster, and more disciplined, not by being cocky. Graves nodded, chastened. Yes, ma'am. Ria continued. Insertion will be by helicopter at 0800 hours. We'll land here 15 kilometers north of the target. Trek in on foot to avoid detection. The terrain is rough. Elevation changes, dense forest. December weather means snow and ice. We move carefully and we move quietly. She traced the route on the map. Our approach vector takes us through this valley, then up this ridgeline. It'll take approximately 4 hours to reach the compound. We hit just before dawn during that window. when even trained operators are at their lowest alertness. Fast breach, overwhelming force in and out before they can organize a defense. Rhodes spoke up. Ma'am, what about rules of engagement? Good question. ROE is weapons tight until I give the order. We don't fire unless fired upon or unless I determine hostile intent. If possible, we take Draven alive. He has information we need. But if capture becomes impossible or if it endangers team safety, lethal force is authorized. And the other hostiles? Brennan asked. Same ROE. Capture preferred, elimination authorized as necessary. Rhea paused, making eye contact with each operator. I need to be clear about something. This mission has personal significance for me. Victor Draven killed my father 5 years ago. 9 operators died in that ambush. I would very much like to put a bullet in his head. The room was silent. But, Rhea continued, I will not let personal feelings compromise this mission. My job is to lead you effectively and bring everyone home alive. That's my priority. Not revenge, not closure. Mission success and team safety. If any of you think I can't maintain that standard, speak now. No one spoke. Good. Chief Kane, brief us on breach planning. Kane stood, moving to the monitor. He pulled up schematics of the compound's main entrance. Based on the architectural data, we're looking at reinforced steel doors, probably with electronic locks and backup mechanical systems. I'll carry thermite charges for the hinges, det cord for secondary entry points, and a hydraulic ram as backup. Estimate breach time at 90 seconds per door. Too slow, Rhea said. We need faster. With respect, ma'am, fast breaching is loud breaching. If we blow the doors, everyone inside knows we're coming. Then we don't blow the doors. We find another way in. Calloway leaned forward, studying the schematics. Ma'am, there's a ventilation system. Old construction, large ducts. If we can access the roof, we might be able to infiltrate through the HVAC. Size restrictions. Ducts are 30 inches square according to the original blueprints. Tight but manageable for smaller operators. Everyone looked at Rhea. She was the smallest person on the team by far. I'll do it, she said. Calloway, you're with me. We go through the vents while the rest of the team positions for primary breach. Once we're inside, we unlock the doors from the interior. Silent entry, no explosives needed. Kane frowned. Ma'am, that puts you and the lieutenant in significant danger. If you're compromised before the team can breach, you'll be isolated with no backup. Which is why we won't get compromised. Rhea turned to Brennan. Sergeant, you and Rhodes provide overwatch from this position. High ground, clear sight lines to both entrances. Anyone tries to flee, you stop them. Yes, ma'am. Graves, you and Kane are primary breach. Once we unlock the doors, you stack and clear. Fast and aggressive. Don't give them time to react. Roger that, Graves said. Rhea spent the next hour walking through every detail. Contingency plans, communication protocols, exfiltration routes, medical evacuation procedures. By the time she finished, everyone knew their role in every backup plan. Questions, she asked. Kane raised his hand. Ma'am, one thing. You mentioned it updated intelligence this morning. 9 heat signatures instead of 8. Do we have any idea who the 9th person is? No, Rhea admitted. Could be anything. We plan for the worst and adapt in the field. And if it's a hostage situation, then we handle it appropriately. Hostage rescue protocols apply. We don't leave civilians in enemy hands if we can avoid it. All right, Rhea said. We insert in 90 minutes. Use that time to check your gear, review your sectors, and get your head right. I want everyone focused and ready. Dismissed. The team filed out, heading to the armory to prep equipment. Only Kane remained behind. Colonel, he said quietly, can I speak with you privately? Rhea gestured for him to continue. Kane seemed to struggle with how to phrase what he wanted to say. Finally, he spoke. Ma'am, I just want you to know that I understand the risk you're taking by going through the vents first, putting yourself in the most dangerous position to keep the rest of us safer. That's real leadership, and I was wrong about you yesterday. Completely wrong. Rhea studied him for a moment. Chief, I don't need your apologies or your admiration. I need you to do your job. Can you do that? Yes, ma'am. Then we're good. Get to the armory and prep your kit. Kane nodded and left, but something in his words nagged at Rhea. The sincerity had seemed genuine, but Pemberton's warning echoed in her mind. Watch your team. She pulled out her phone and made a call. Director Pemberton, it's Colonel Strand. I need you to run a check on someone for me. Chief Petty Officer Dalton Kane. Deep background, financial records, communications, everything. I want to know if he's compromised. You think he's dirty? I think I can't afford it to assume anyone is clean. Can you do it? I'll have preliminary results in 4 hours. The mission launches in 90 minutes. Then I'll do what I can. But Colonel, if you're this suspicious of your own team, maybe you shouldn't launch at all. Rhea looked at the map on the screen. Victor Draven's compound. Her father's unfinished business. Not an option, Director. We're going. I just need to know who I can trust. Fair enough, I'll call you with what I find. The line disconnected. Rhea stood alone in the briefing room. In 90 minutes, she'd be in the air, heading toward the most dangerous mission of her career, leading a team she couldn't fully trust, hunting a man who'd killed her father. Her phone buzzed, text from an unknown number. Be careful who you trust, Colonel. Not everything is what it seems. Rhea stared at the message. Unknown sender, sent through an encrypted relay. Impossible to trace. Someone was watching her. Someone knew about the mission. And someone wanted her to know they knew. She deleted the message and pocketed the phone. Then she grabbed her gear bag and headed to the armory. Time to go to work. The Black Hawk's rotors beat a steady rhythm against the cold morning air as it climbed over the Cascade Mountains. Inside, 6 operators sat in silence, each lost in their own pre-mission rituals. Rhodes cleaned his rifle for the 3rd time. Graves stared at his hands. Brennan reviewed medical supplies. Calloway studied a tactical tablet with maps and building schematics. Kane sat across from Rhea, his eyes fixed on some point in the middle distance. She'd been watching him peripherally since takeoff, looking for any sign of deception or nervousness. So far, nothing. The loadmaster's voice crackled through their headsets. 10 minutes to LZ. Rhea keyed her mic. Copy. Team final comms check. One by one, they confirmed. Kane, Calloway, Brennan, Graves, Rhodes, all systems green. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, angling the screen away from view. Message from Pemberton. Preliminary check on Kane shows irregularity. Sat phone activity to unknown number 3 times in last 48 hours. Encrypted. Can't break it yet. Recommend caution. Rhea's jaw tightened. She looked up at Kane. He was checking his breaching kit, oblivious. 3 encrypted calls in 48 hours. She typed back. Can you monitor in real time? Already AM. If he makes contact during mission, you'll know immediately. Rhea pocketed the phone. Kane was compromised. Compromised somehow, but she couldn't abort now. Too much at stake. She'd just have to watch him carefully. 5 minutes, the loadmaster announced. The Black Hawk began its descent, dropping into a valley surrounded by snow-covered peaks. The landing zone was a small clearing, barely large enough for the helicopter. The moment the skids touched ground, the team moved, fast and efficient. Out the doors, spreading into defensive positions, weapons up. The helicopter lifted off, immediately disappearing over the ridgeline. Silence rushed in. No birds, no wind, just the soft hiss of falling snow and the sound of 6 people breathing. Rhea took point, moving into the tree line with Calloway close behind. The rest fell into formation. Kane and Graves in the middle, Rhodes and Brennan bringing up rear security. The terrain was brutal, steep slopes covered in ice, fallen logs hidden under snow. Elevation that made breathing hard. They moved slowly, carefully, taking 40 minutes to cover what should have been 20 minutes of distance. After 2 hours, Rhea called a halt. They'd covered 8 kilometers and climbed 1,500 feet. 5-minute break, she whispered into her mic. Hydrate. Check your extremities for frostbite. The team collapsed against trees and rocks. Rhea moved to a position where she could watch all of them. Rhodes and Brennan looked solid. Graves was younger, more winded, but managing. Calloway struggled the most. Kane looked fine. Too fine. He wasn't even breathing hard. Her phone buzzed silently. Pemberton. Kane's sat phone just pinged. Brief transmission. Less than 5 seconds. Couldn't intercept content, but it originated from his position. Rhea's hand moved to her sidearm. Kane had just sent a message. While they were in the middle of a classified operation, she keyed her mic to Kane's direct channel. Chief, join me up front. Kane stood and moved to her position. Ma'am? Rhea waited until he was close enough that the others couldn't hear. I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I need an honest answer. Are you working for someone other than the United States Navy on this mission? Kane's face went blank with shock. What, ma'am? No. Why would you? Because you just sent an encrypted transmission from your sat phone, while we're supposed to be maintaining radio silence. So I'll ask again. Who are you working for? Understanding flooded Kane's features, followed by something that looked like genuine fear. Colonel, I can explain. Then do it, fast. Kane glanced back at the rest of the team, then met her eyes. 3 days ago, I was contacted by CIA counterintelligence. They asked me to keep them informed about this mission. They said there were concerns about operational security, about potential leaks. And you agreed. I'm a chief petty officer. The CIA asked for cooperation. You cooperate. Kane's voice was urgent. They told me to report any suspicious activity, any deviations from standard protocol. That's all I'm doing. That transmission you detected was a position update, nothing more. You're spying on your own team. I'm following orders from a federal agency. Kane's hands spread in frustration. Ma'am, I know how this looks, but I swear to you my loyalty is to this mission and this team. The CIA just wants to make sure nothing goes wrong. Rhea studied his face. Who's your contact at CIA? I don't know his real name. He calls himself Smith. Generic, I know, but the authorization code's checked out. Show me your phone. Kane hesitated, then pulled out a small satellite phone from his vest pocket. Handed it over. Rhea scrolled through the recent activity. 3 outgoing transmissions in the last 2 days and all to the same encrypted number. What exactly did you report? First transmission was confirmation that the mission was proceeding as planned. Second was team composition and equipment manifest. Third, just now, was our current position and status. That's it. Rhea wanted to believe him, but Pemberton had warned her. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to give me that phone. You're going to follow my orders exactly. And if I even suspect you're compromising this mission, I will shoot you myself. Understood? Kane nodded, his face pale. Understood, ma'am, but you should know something else. My contact told me to watch you specifically. They said you might have personal motivations that could compromise mission objectives. They said if you went rogue, I was supposed to stop you. Stop me how? Whatever means necessary. Rhea felt cold that had nothing to do with the temperature. And were you planning to do that? No, ma'am. Kane's voice was firm. Like I said, I made assumptions about you that were completely wrong. I've watched you plan this mission. You're a professional. Whatever the CIA thinks about you, they're wrong. So I'm choosing to ignore their instructions and follow yours instead. It was a calculated risk. Either Kane was telling the truth, or he was lying and would betray them at the worst possible moment. Rhea made a decision based on necessity. She needed Kane's skills. All right, Chief, I'm going to trust you, but understand this clearly. One wrong move, one hint of betrayal, and I end you. Are we absolutely clear? Yes, ma'am. Rhea pocketed his sat phone. Get back in formation. We move in 2 minutes. As Kane returned to his position, Rhea sent a quick message to Pemberton. Kane claims CIA counterintel recruited him to watch me. Contact name Smith. Can you verify? The response came 30 seconds later. No record of any counter-intel operation targeting you. If someone recruited Kane, it wasn't official CIA. Recommend extreme caution. Rhea's blood ran cold. Kane had been recruited by someone pretending to be CIA. Someone who wanted eyes on this mission. This was exactly what her father had walked into. A mission based on faulty intelligence from a compromised source. 2 minutes up, she announced. We move. Stay sharp. The team rose and continued the trek, but now Rhea's mind raced. If Kane had been recruited by someone posing as CIA, who was it? Draven. Someone working with Draven. She keyed her mic. Change of plans. We're adjusting our approach vector. New route takes us along this ridge instead of through the valley. Adds 30 minutes but better concealment. It was a test. If Kane was truly compromised and reported the change, they'd know. The team adapted without complaint following Rhea's new route. The terrain got worse, steeper, more exposed, but also harder to predict. After another 90 minutes of brutal climbing, they reached the final observation point. a rocky outcrop overlooking Draven's compound from 800 meters away. Rhea pulled out binoculars. The compound sat in a narrow valley sheltered by cliffs on three sides. Old concrete construction. Two main buildings connected by a covered walkway. External security lighting. Fresh tire tracks in the snow. Thermal scan, she whispered to Calloway. He pulled out a thermal imaging device and swept the compound. I'm reading 8 signatures. 6 in the main building, 2 in the secondary structure, no movement. They appear to be stationary, possibly sleeping or resting. 8 signatures, not 9 like the earlier satellite data had shown. Could be a roving patrol, Rhodes had suggested quietly, or someone left the compound. Rhea didn't like it. Every instinct screamed that something was wrong, but they'd come this far. We proceed as planned, she decided. Rhodes, Brennan, take up overwatch position here. You've got clear lines of sight to both exits. Anyone runs, you stop them. Roger that, Rhodes confirmed. Calloway, you're with me. We go through the roof access to the ventilation system. Kane Graves, you stack at the main entrance. When we unlock from inside, you breach and clear. Fast and aggressive. Everyone acknowledged their orders. Rhea checked her watch. 0447 hours, 13 minutes until dawn. Move. The 4-person assault team descended from the observation point using darkness and terrain to approach the compound. Rhodes and Brennan stayed behind, setting up with their rifles and spotting scopes. It took 10 minutes to reach the compound perimeter. No alarms, no lights, no indication they had been detected. Rhea and Calloway moved along the north wall while Kane and Graves positioned at the main entrance. The roof was 12 feet up. Rhea spotted a drainage pipe that might hold their weight. I'll climb first, she whispered. Calloway, follow when I signal. She slung her rifle and gripped the pipe. It was cold enough that even through gloves the metal burned. She climbed quickly. The pipe held. In 30 seconds she was on the roof. Snow covered everything. Ventilation stacks rose at intervals. She found the main HVAC unit and examined the vent cover. 4 bolts. She pulled out a compact drill and began removing them as quietly as possible. The last bolt came free. Rhea lifted the vent cover and set it aside. Inside, a metal duct dropped straight down into darkness. She pulled out a small flashlight and checked the shaft. 30 feet to the first junction. Tight fit but manageable. She signaled Calloway to come up. He scaled the pipe, made it to the roof. Together they prepared to descend. That's when Rhea's phone buzzed. Message from Pemberton. Abort mission. Repeat, abort. New intel suggests the message cut off, no signal. They were in a dead zone. Rhea stared at the partial message. Abort. Why? But it was too late now. They were committed. We continue. Radio silence from here. Calloway looked uncertain but nodded. Rhea attached a rope to the vent housing and rappelled down into the shaft. The metal walls were slick with frozen condensation. Her shoulders brushed both sides. She descended slowly. After 20 feet, she reached the first junction. Horizontal duct branching off. She crawled into it, pulling her rifle behind her. Calloway followed his breathing loud in the confined space. They crawled through the ductwork following the blueprints. Left at the first junction, straight for 30 feet, right at the second junction. Down a vertical shaft to the ground level. Through the metal grates below, Rhea could see into rooms. A storage area, a hallway, an empty office. No people, no movement. Too quiet. They reached a vent that opened into what the blueprints labeled as a security office. Through the grate, Rhea could see monitors, a desk, and a door that should lead to the main entrance. She carefully removed the grate from inside, lowered herself through the opening, dropped silently to the floor, weapons up, and sweeping the room. Empty. But the monitors showed camera feeds from around the compound. Exterior doors, interior hallways, the garage. All empty. No guards, no personnel. Where was everyone? Calloway dropped down behind her. Ma'am, this doesn't feel right. Agreed, but we're here. We finish it. She moved to the security office door and cracked it open. Hallway beyond, lights on but no movement. She advanced quickly, checking corners, clearing angles. The main entrance was 20 feet ahead. She could see Kane and Graves through the door's small window waiting for her signal. She reached the door's interior lock. Electronic keypad. She pulled out a bypass device, attached it to the panel. It hummed softly, cycling through codes. The lock clicked open. Kane and Graves entered, immediately weapons up, moving with practiced efficiency. They flowed into the hallway, clearing rooms in pairs, while Rhea and Calloway provided security. First room clear, second room clear, third room clear, every room empty. No personnel, no guards, no Victor Draven. "Where is everyone?" Graves whispered. "I don't know," Rhea admitted. "But stay sharp," a voice spoke from speakers hidden in the ceiling. Accented English, Russian, calm and almost amused. "Welcome, Colonel Strand. I've been expecting you." The team froze weapons tracking to locate the source, but the voice came from everywhere at once. "My name is Victor Draven, though you already know that. And I'm afraid you've walked into something far more complicated than a simple raid." Rhea's jaw clenched. "Show yourself." "In time, but first you should know something interesting. Your father, Colonel Marcus Strand, is not dead." Rhea's heart stopped. "He's been alive for the past 5 years, and he's standing right behind you." Rhea spun weapon raised. A door she'd thought was a closet opened. A man stepped out. Late 50s, weathered face, gray hair. Eyes she'd known her entire life. Her father. Alive. Wearing civilian clothes and holding a pistol. "Hello, Rhea," he said quietly. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way." The world tilted. Her finger tightened on the trigger. Kane and the others had weapons up, but didn't know where to point them. "That's not possible," Rhea whispered. "You died 5 years ago. I saw the report. I attended your memorial service." Marcus Strand looked at his daughter with eyes that held no warmth. No fatherly love, just cold calculation. "You saw what the CIA wanted you to see. The ambush in Syria was real. 9 operators really did die, but I wasn't one of them." He stepped forward slowly. "I used the chaos to disappear, to fake my death. Because I'd discovered something, Rhea. Something that changed everything I believed about serving this country." "What are you talking about?" Rhea's voice shook. "The CIA, the entire intelligence apparatus. It's corrupt to its core. Officers selling secrets for personal profit, manipulating operations, getting good soldiers killed to cover their tracks." Marcus's voice was bitter. "I tried to report it through official channels. They tried to kill me, so I made a choice. I chose to survive." Draven's voice continued from the speakers. "Your father came to me 5 years ago, offered his expertise in exchange for protection, and I accepted. Together we've built quite a profitable enterprise." "You're lying," Rhea said, but even as she spoke, she could see the truth in her father's eyes. "I wish I was," Marcus said, "but I'm not. The man you thought was your father, the patriot who believed in duty and honor, that man died in Syria. What's left is a realist. Someone who understands that loyalty to a corrupt system is just another form of stupidity." He pulled out a tablet and set it on a nearby table. "Draven and I have been working together for 5 years, selling intelligence to the highest bidder. Russian, Chinese, Iranian. Doesn't matter. They all pay well. And the information we're selling, most of it comes from the same CIA officers who tried to kill me." Poetic, really. Rhea felt like she was drowning. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because Draven is about to complete the biggest sale of his career, $50 million from Chinese MSS for a complete dump of American human operations in the Pacific. Names, locations, communication protocols, everything." Marcus looked at his daughter. "And I want to offer you a piece of it. $10 million, Rhea. Enough to disappear, to live comfortably for the rest of your life. All you have to do is walk away." "You're insane," Rhea breathed. "I'm practical. You're young, you're talented. You could have a future that doesn't involve dying for a government that doesn't give a damn about you. Your mother would have wanted that." The mention of her mother hit Rhea like a physical blow. "Don't you dare talk about her. She believed in something. She believed in you." "And she died believing in lies," Marcus said coldly. "Just like you will if you do not make the smart choice." Rhea raised her weapon, pointing it directly at her father's chest. "I'm not making any choice except to stop you. Both of you." Marcus sighed. "I was afraid you'd say that. Such a shame. You really are your mother's daughter. Stubborn, idealistic, doomed." He raised his hand and snapped his fingers. The hallway behind Rhea's team exploded with movement. Doors that had appeared locked burst open. Armed operatives poured out. Not Draven's mercenaries. American. CIA tactical team. 8 operators with automatic weapons and body armor. Leading them was a woman in her mid-30s. Business suit, ice-cold eyes. She held no weapon but radiated authority. "Colonel Strand," the woman said. "My name is Director Sarah Vance, Central Intelligence Agency, Special Activities Division, and all of you are under arrest for treason." Ria's team was surrounded, outnumbered, outgunned. Kane stepped forward. "Director Vance, I was ordered to report." "I know what you were ordered to do, Chief Kane, and you did it perfectly." Vance smiled. "You led Colonel Strand exactly where we needed her, right into the trap." Understanding crashed over Ria like ice water. Kane hadn't been compromised by someone pretending to be CIA. He'd been working for real CIA, for Vance, leading Ria into this. "You son of a bitch," she breathed. Kane wouldn't meet her eyes. "I'm sorry, Colonel, but my orders came from the director level. I had no choice." "There's always a choice," Ria said. Vance walked forward, her team maintaining security positions. "What's happening here is damage control, Colonel. Your father stumbled onto something he shouldn't have 5 years ago. Instead of being smart and keeping quiet, he decided to play hero, gather evidence, expose corruption." She gestured to Marcus. "We couldn't let that happen. So we staged the Syria ambush, gave him an opportunity to disappear. We knew he'd take it. We knew he'd run to Draven. And we've been watching him ever since, letting him think he was building some grand conspiracy, when in reality we controlled every step." "Why?" Ria demanded. "Because exposure doesn't just damage the guilty colonel. It damages the entire system. Yes, there are corrupt officers in the CIA. Yes, there are operations that would never survive public scrutiny. But that's the price of keeping America safe. Sometimes you have to make deals with devils. Sometimes you have to get your hands dirty. Your father forgot that. He put his conscience ahead of national security." Vance turned to Marcus. "And you? You actually thought you were clever, selling secrets, building a fortune? All while we tracked every transaction, every communication, every buyer. You've been our honeypot, Marcus, drawing out enemies, identifying threats, and now you've served your purpose." Marcus's face went pale. "You can't. I can, and I will." Vance nodded to her team. "Disarm them, all of them." The CIA operators moved forward. Ria's team was outnumbered 2-1. They could fight, but it would be suicide. Kane lowered his weapon first. Graves followed. Then Calloway. Ria kept her rifle pointed at Vance. "I'm not going quietly." "Yes, you are." Vance's voice was certain. "Because if you resist, I'll kill everyone on your team. Kane, Calloway, Graves, and Rhodes and Brennan up on that ridge. My snipers have had them in their sights since you arrived. You want their deaths on your conscience?" Ria's finger trembled on the trigger. Every instinct screamed to fight. But Vance was right. If Ria fired, her team would die. Slowly, she lowered her weapon. "Smart choice," Vance said. "Now here's what happens next. You and your father are going to disappear. Quietly. Permanently. Your team will return to base and report that the mission failed. Draven escaped. You were killed in action. Tragic loss. Another hero's name on the memorial wall." "And Draven?" Ria asked. "Draven serves his purpose too. He continues his operation. We continue monitoring his buyers. Everyone wins. Except you." Vance gestured to her operators. "Take them." The lights went out, every light in the compound, plunging everything into absolute darkness. And in that darkness, Victor Draven's voice spoke one more time. "I'm afraid, Director Vance, that you've made a critical error. You assumed this was my compound, my territory, my trap. But you're wrong. This has always been about something much larger, and you've just activated my contingency." Gunfire erupted. In the chaos of darkness, Ria dropped to the floor, rolled left. Muzzle flashes lit the hallway like lightning. The CIA operators fired at shadows. Her teams scattered, finding cover. Ria's night vision goggles were in her pack. She fumbled for them, pulled them on. The world turned green and grainy. She could see everything now. Kane had taken cover behind an overturned desk. Calloway was pressed against a wall. Graves was on the floor, weapon up. But the CIA team was in disarray. They'd been caught as blind as everyone else. And then she saw them. Draven's real force. Not 8 mercenaries. 20. They'd been hidden in subsurface rooms that didn't show on thermal scans. They poured into the hallway from concealed entrances, equipped with night vision, firing with precision. It was a 3-way firefight: Rhea's team, Vance's CIA operators, and Draven's mercenaries, and all fighting in the dark. Rhea made a split-second decision. She keyed her mic. "Team on me. We're fighting our way out." She opened fire on the CIA operators nearest the exit. 2 went down, 3 more scattered. She advanced, firing controlled bursts, clearing a path. Kane appeared at her side. "Colonel, I know you don't trust me, but—" "Shut up and shoot," Rhea snapped. Kane nodded and opened fire. Whatever else he was a professional. His shots were accurate, controlled, effective. Calloway and Graves joined them, forming a wedge. They pushed toward the exit, firing and moving using textbook small unit tactics. Behind them, Vance's team engaged Draven's mercenaries. The sound was deafening. Grenades exploded. Walls shattered. Smoke filled the air. Rhea reached the main entrance and kicked it open. Cold air rushed in. She could see the compound exterior now through her night vision. Clear path to the perimeter. Move, move, move. Her team poured through the door, but as Rhea turned to follow, she saw her father. Marcus was pinned down, trapped between CIA operators and Draven's mercenaries. He looked up, saw her in the doorway. For a moment, their eyes met. Father and daughter, separated by 5 years of lies and a hallway full of gunfire. "Rhea," he shouted, "help me!" She hesitated. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to leave him, to let him die in the trap he'd helped create. He'd betrayed everything, faked his death, sold secrets, abandoned her, but he was still her father. "Damn it," she muttered. She turned back, laying down, covering fire. "Kane with me." Kane didn't hesitate. He followed her back into the chaos, firing at CIA operators who tried to stop them. They reached Marcus. Rhea grabbed his arm. "You're under arrest, but I'm not letting you die here. Move." Marcus looked at her with something that might have been gratitude, or might have been shame. Hard to tell in the green light of night vision. They fought their way back to the exit. Behind them, the compound was tearing itself apart. Structural damage from explosives. Fire spreading. The entire facility was minutes from collapse. Rhea's team made it outside. They ran for the tree line, putting distance between themselves and the compound. Behind them, a massive explosion rocked the valley. The compound's ammunition stores had been hit. The entire main building erupted in flames. They didn't stop running until they reached the observation point where Rhodes and Brennan waited. "Colonel," Rhodes called out, "what the hell happened?" "Long story." Rhea gasped, her lungs burning. "We need extraction, now." Calloway pulled out a satellite phone. "Calling for emergency evac." While he made the call, Rhea turned to her father. Marcus sat on the ground, his hands zip-tied behind his back. Blood ran from a cut on his forehead. He looked old, broken. "Why, she asked. Why did you do it, any of it?" Marcus looked up at her. "Because I was tired, Rhea. Tired of fighting, tired of sacrificing, tired of watching good people die for a system that didn't care about them. When I discovered the corruption, when I tried to report it, and they tried to kill me, I realized something. The ideals I'd served my entire life were a lie. So I chose to survive, to profit, to take care of myself for once." "You chose wrong," Rhea said. "Maybe, but I'm alive. That's more than I can say for the 9 men who died in Syria because they believed in those lies." Rhea wanted to hit him, wanted to scream at him. But what was the point? He'd made his choices. Now he'd live with the consequences. Calloway approached. "Evac inbound. ETA 20 minutes. But Colonel, we've got a problem. The compound is collapsing, but satellite imagery shows survivors emerging. Both CIA and Draven's people. And they're heading this way." "How many?" "At least 12, maybe more." Rhea checked her ammunition. Half a magazine left. She looked at her team. They were exhausted, low on ammo, one of them compromised. And they had to hold this position for 20 minutes against a force 3 times their size. Rhodes Brennan set up firing positions on the high ground. Graves plant what's left of your charges on the approach routes. Calloway, you and I will provide security for the prisoner. Kane, she turned to face him. He stood there, weapon at his side, face unreadable. Kane, I don't know if I can trust you, but I need every gun. Are you with us or against us? Kane met her eyes. Ma'am, I made a mistake. I thought I was doing the right thing following orders from CIA. But Director Vance just tried to kill all of us. Whatever game she's playing, I'm done being a pawn. I'm with you. For real this time. Rhea studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Prove it. You're with Graves, set up defensive positions. Yes, ma'am. As the team scrambled to prepare, Rhea pulled out her phone. 1 bar of signal. She dialed Pemberton. He answered on the first ring. Colonel Strand, thank God. I've been trying to reach you. We have a major situation. I know, Director Vance tried to arrest me for treason after using my team as bait in some kind of CIA black op. What the hell is going on, Director? Pemberton's voice was tight. Vance is operating outside official channels. She's not authorized by anyone I know. I think she's running her own operation. Trying to cover up something big, but I don't have all the pieces yet. Well, here's a piece for you. My father is alive. He's been working with Draven for 5 years, selling secrets. And Vance knew about it the whole time. She's been using him as some kind of honeypot. Silence on the line. Then your father is alive. Yes, and he's under arrest. If we survive the next 20 minutes, I'm bringing him back for trial. But I need to know something. Can I trust you? Yes, Pemberton said without hesitation. Whatever's happening, I'm not part of it. I want the truth just as much as you do. Good, because when I get back, we're going to have a long conversation about CIA oversight. But right now, I need you to do something. I need you to contact Admiral Morrison at Joint Special Operations Command. Tell him Colonel Strand is requesting immediate backup at these coordinates. Authorization code Alpha 7, Tango 4. That's a distress code, Colonel. I know what it is. We have hostiles inbound and limited ammunition. If we don't get support, my team dies. Make the call. I'm on it. Colonel, one more thing. Be careful. Vance has resources. She won't let this go. I know, but neither will I. Rhea disconnected and turned to her team. They'd set up a defensive perimeter. Rhodes and Brennan were on the high ground with their rifles. Graves had placed his remaining charges along the most likely approach routes. Kane was next to him, weapon ready. Calloway stood next to Marcus, keeping him under guard. Rhea joined Rhodes at the observation point. Through her binoculars, she could see figures moving in the valley below. They were coming. Fast. Contact, Rhodes said quietly. I count 14 hostiles. Mixed CIA and mercenary. They're moving in 2 elements. One flanking left, one straight up the middle. Wait until they're in the kill zone, Rhea instructed. Then light them up. Graves, you ready? Ready, ma'am? Graves had confirmed over the radio. They waited. Rhea's heart pounded. This was it. This was where they'd make their stand. 6 operators, 1 prisoner against 14 trained killers. The first hostile crossed into the kill zone. Then the second, third, fourth. Now, Rhea shouted. Graves triggered his charges. Explosions tore through the snow. Trees splintered. 2 hostiles went down immediately. The rest scattered, seeking cover. Rhodes and Brennan opened fire. Their rifles cracked in steady rhythm. Another hostile down, then another. The return fire came fast and heavy. Rounds snapped through the air, impacted trees, kicked up snow. Rhea joined the firing, taking careful shots. She saw a CIA operator trying to flank left. Fired twice. He went down. Kane was next to Graves, firing controlled bursts. Whatever else he was, the man could shoot. 3 hostiles fell to his fire, but they kept coming, advancing by fire and movement. Professional, coordinated, dangerous. We can't hold this position, Calloway shouted. We don't have to hold it forever, Rhea replied. Just long enough for extraction. She checked her watch. 15 minutes until the helicopter arrived. 15 minutes they might not have. A grenade landed 10 feet from her position. She saw it had maybe 2 seconds to react. Grenade! She screamed, diving away. The explosion was deafening. Shrapnel tore through trees. Something hit Rhea's leg. Hot pain. She looked down, blood spreading across her tactical pants. Colonel's hit, Kane yelled. I'm fine, Rhea shouted back, though she wasn't. The shrapnel had caught her left thigh. Deep, bleeding heavily. Keep firing. Brennan slid down from her position, medical kit in hand. Ma'am, let me. No, stay on your rifle. We need every gun. You're bleeding out, Colonel. I said no. That's an order. Brennan hesitated, then returned to her position. But Rhea could see the concern in her eyes. The firefight continued. Ammunition was running critically low. Rhea was down to her last magazine. Around her, the team was in similar shape. And still the hostiles came. Fewer now, maybe 8 left. But that was still enough. Rhea's vision was starting to blur. Blood loss. She blinked, tried to focus. Had to stay conscious. Had to lead her team. Colonel, Rhodes called out. I've got eyes on the LZ, helicopter inbound. 2 minutes. Copy, Rhea managed. Everyone fall back to the LZ. Fighting withdrawal. Move. The team began pulling back, firing as they went. Rhea tried to stand. Her leg buckled. She caught herself against a tree. Kane appeared at her side. Lean on me, ma'am. I don't trust you, Rhea said. I know, but you need me. And I need to prove myself, so let me help. Rhea didn't have the strength to argue. She let Kane support her weight. Together they moved toward the LZ. Behind them, the hostiles pressed the attack. But they were cautious now. They'd lost half their force. The aggressive push had turned into a careful advance. The helicopter appeared over the ridge. A Black Hawk running lights off fast and low. It flared hard, landing in the small clearing. Go! Go, go! Rhea shouted. Calloway and Marcus went first, scrambling into the helicopter. Then Graves, then Brennan, then Rhodes. Kane helped Rhea to the door. She collapsed into the cargo bay. Kane jumped in after her. The pilot didn't wait. The Black Hawk lifted off immediately, tilting forward, gaining speed. Rounds pinged off the armored hull. But they were airborne. They were safe. Brennan immediately went to work on Rhea's leg. I need to stop this bleeding. Do it, Rhea said. Then to the pilot, get us back to Naval Station Bremerton and call ahead. Tell them to have military police waiting. I'm bringing in a prisoner. She looked at her father. Marcus sat slumped against the far wall, zip-tied hands in his lap. He looked defeated, broken. It didn't have to be this way, Rhea said quietly. Marcus met her eyes. Yes, it did. The moment I discovered the truth, this was inevitable. I just hoped you'd never have to see it. See what your betrayal, your cowardice. See how the system really works. See that the ideals we're taught to believe in are just comfortable lies. Marcus shook his head. You're still young enough to believe, Rhea, but one day you'll be my age. You'll have seen enough, and you'll understand why I made the choices I made. No, Rhea said, I won't, because I'm better than you. I'm stronger than you, and I'll never let cynicism destroy my integrity. Marcus smiled sadly. That's what I said too, when I was your age. Rhea turned away. She couldn't look at him anymore. Instead, she looked at her team. Kane, who'd betrayed her but maybe found redemption. Calloway, young and traumatized but still professional. Graves, who'd fought well despite his inexperience. Rhodes and Brennan, solid professionals who'd done their jobs perfectly. They'd survived. Against overwhelming odds, they'd survived. But the mission wasn't over. Vance was still out there. Draven had escaped in the chaos, and the corruption her father had discovered was still buried. This was just the beginning. The Black Hawk flew through the dawn sky, heading west toward the coast. Behind them, the North Cascades burned. Ahead of them, the real battle waited. Rhea leaned back against the cold metal wall of the helicopter. Her leg throbbed. Her head pounded. Exhaustion pulled at her like gravity. But she couldn't rest yet. Not until this was finished. Not until justice was served. The hearing room in the Russell Senate office building was packed. Senators sat behind their curved desk, looking down at the witness table. News cameras lined the walls. Gallery seats were full of journalists, spectators, and military personnel. Rhea sat at the witness table in her dress uniform. Every medal she'd earned gleamed on her chest. Her left leg was in a brace hidden under the table. The shrapnel wound had required surgery, but she'd refused to delay this hearing. To her right sat Director Theodore Pemberton. To her left, an empty chair. Director Sarah Vance had failed to appear despite a congressional subpoena. She'd disappeared the day after the North Cascades operation. An arrest warrant had been issued, but she was in the wind. Senator Patricia Holloway, chair of the Select Committee on Intelligence, gavelled the hearing to order. Colonel Strand, thank you for appearing today. I know you're still recovering from injuries sustained in the operation. We appreciate your willingness to testify. Thank you, Senator. Let's begin with the basics. Can you describe what happened on December 15th at the compound in the North Cascades? Rhea took a breath. Yes, Senator, my team and I were dispatched to intercept Viktor Draven, a known arms dealer and former Soviet intelligence officer. We had intelligence suggesting he was preparing to sell classified American data to Chinese MSS. And what did you find when you arrived? A trap, Senator. The intelligence was partially accurate. Draven was at the compound, but so was someone else. My father, Colonel Marcus Strand, who had been declared killed in action 5 years ago. Murmurs rippled through the gallery. Even though this had been in the news for 3 weeks, hearing it spoken aloud in official testimony still had impact. Your father had faked his death. Yes, Senator. He claims he discovered corruption within the CIA, officers selling secrets for profit. When he tried to report it through official channels, there was an attempt on his life. He chose to fake his death and join forces with Viktor Draven rather than continue fighting within the system. And Director Vance, what was her role in all this? Rhea glanced at Pemberton. He gave a slight nod, permission to speak freely. Director Vance was running an unauthorized operation, Senator. She knew my father was alive. She'd been using him as what she called a honeypot, allowing him to sell secrets while she monitored the buyers. When my team and I got close to exposing this operation, she attempted to arrest us for treason. When that failed, she tried to have us killed. Senator Holloway leaned forward. Let me be clear, Colonel. You're testifying under oath that a CIA division director attempted to murder a United States military officer and her team to cover up an illegal operation. Yes, Senator, that's exactly what I'm testifying. More murmurs, cameras clicked. Journalists typed furiously. Another senator, Thomas Bradford, spoke up. Colonel, you mentioned that your father claimed to have discovered corruption. Have you seen evidence of this corruption? Yes, Senator. Before the compound was destroyed, my father provided me with encrypted files. Director Pemberton's team has been analyzing them. Director, would you like to speak to that? Pemberton leaned toward his microphone. Senators, what we found is deeply disturbing. The files contain evidence of at least 17 CIA officers engaged in selling classified information over the past decade. Names of assets compromised, operations betrayed. The scope is unprecedented. And Director Vance's role, Senator Bradford pressed. We believe Director Vance discovered this network 2 years ago. Rather than dismantling it and prosecuting those involved, she chose to take control of it, use it for her own purposes. We're still determining what those purposes were. The hearing continued for 3 hours. Rhea answered every question, described the firefight, explained her decisions, defended her team's actions. When it was finally over, Senator Holloway spoke directly to Rhea. Colonel, on behalf of this committee, I want to thank you for your service and your courage. You faced an impossible situation and acted with honor and integrity. This committee will be recommending you for commendation. Thank you, Senator, but I was just doing my job. No, Colonel, you did far more than that. You exposed corruption that might have remained hidden for years. You brought a traitor to justice, and you survived against overwhelming odds. That's not just doing your job. That's heroism. Rhea stood as the hearing was adjourned. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, but she ignored them all, walking out of the hearing room with as much dignity as her injured leg allowed. In the hallway outside, her team was waiting. Kane Calloway, Brennan Graves, and Rhodes, all in dress uniforms, all standing at attention. At ease, Rhea said, smiling. You didn't have to wait for me. Yes, ma'am, we did, Kane said. We're a team. Rhea felt something warm in her chest. Pride, maybe, or gratitude. Thank you, Chief. All of you. You performed admirably under impossible circumstances. What happens now, ma'am? Calloway asked. No, now we go back to work. The fight isn't over. Vance is still out there. So is Draven. And there's a whole network of corruption to dismantle. Rhea looked at each of them. I've been authorized to form a special task force. Small team, high clearance. Mission is to investigate and eliminate intelligence corruption wherever we find it. I'm offering all of you positions on that team. No pressure. Take time to think about it. I don't need time, Kane said immediately. I'm in. Me too, Brennan added. One by one, they all accepted. Rhea felt that warmth again. She'd started this mission alone, trusting no one. She was ending it with a team she could believe in. All right then, she said. Report to Naval Station Bremerton, Monday morning, 0600 hours. We've got work to do. As the team dispersed, Pemberton approached. Colonel, a moment. They walked together toward a quiet corner. How are you really doing it? He asked. Honestly, I don't know. I arrested my own father, discovered the organization I serve is compromised, got shot by people I'm supposed to trust. I'm not sure doing well is an option right now. But you're still standing, still fighting. What else can I do? Rhea looked at him. My father chose cynicism, chose to believe the system was too broken to fix. I refuse to make that choice. If there's corruption, we root it out. If there's betrayal, we expose it. We make the system better, not abandon it. Pemberton smiled. Your father was right about one thing. You are your mother's daughter. She'd be very proud. I hope so. One more thing, Colonel. I pulled some strings. Your father's trial is set for next month. Military tribunal. Closed proceedings, but fair. He'll get due process. Rhea nodded. Thank you. I know he betrayed everything, but he's still my father. I want him to have justice, not revenge. He will. And Colonel, when this is all over, when the trials are done and the corruption is exposed, take some time off. You've earned it. Maybe, Rhea said, but somehow I doubt it'll ever really be over. She walked out of the Russell building into the cold December air. 3 weeks since the North Cascades. 3 weeks since her world had been turned upside down. But she was still here, still standing, still fighting. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Well done, Colonel, but this is just the beginning. There are others, deeper, more dangerous. When you're ready to go after them, contact me. VD. Rhea stared at the message. VD, Victor Draven. He'd survived the compound destruction, and now he was reaching out. She should report it immediately, should turn over the communication to Pemberton, should follow proper protocols. But something made her hesitate. Draven had information, access to networks she couldn't reach through official channels. He was a monster, yes, but he was a monster who knew where other monsters hid. Rhea deleted the message. Then she saved the number under a single letter D. Not today, but maybe someday when she needed to go deeper into the darkness than official channels allowed, she'd make that call. For now, she had enough to deal with. She climbed into a waiting car. The driver, a young ensign, asked, "Where to, ma'am?" "The Naval Station, Bremerton. I have a team to build and a system to fix." As the car pulled away from the capital, Rhea looked back at the building. Somewhere in there, her father's fate was being decided. Somewhere out there, Vance was planning her next move. Somewhere in the world, Draven was watching and waiting. But Rhea Strand had learned something in the past 3 weeks. She'd learned that corruption could be fought, that betrayal could be overcome, that even when everything seemed darkest, honor and integrity still mattered. Her father had chosen cynicism, had chosen profit over principle, had chosen survival over sacrifice. Rhea chose differently. She chose to believe the system could be better, that individuals could make a difference, that one person standing up for what's right could change the world. Maybe she was naive. Maybe she was idealistic. Maybe one day she'd end up just as cynical as her father. But not today. Today she was Colonel Rhea Strand, officer, leader, survivor, and she had work to do. The car merged onto the highway heading north toward Bremerton, toward her team, toward the future. Behind her, the past faded into the distance. Ahead, the road stretched out uncertain and dangerous. But she wasn't afraid. Not anymore. She'd walked through fire and come out stronger. She'd faced betrayal and found loyalty. She'd lost her father but gained a family and her team. This was her mission now. Not revenge, not closure, but justice, real justice. The kind that didn't compromise, the kind that didn't cut corners, the kind her mother would have believed in. Rhea leaned back in her seat and closed her eyes. Her leg throbbed. Her body ached. Exhaustion pulled at her. But beneath it all, she felt something else. Something she hadn't felt in 5 years. Hope. The system was broken, but it could be fixed. The corruption was deep, but it could be rooted out. The darkness was vast, but light could still shine through, one mission at a time, one battle at a time, one choice at a time. That's how you change the world, not with grand gestures or dramatic moments, but with daily decisions to do the right thing even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Rhea Strand opened her eyes and looked at the road ahead. Somewhere out there, Vance was planning, Draven was plotting, and a dozen other threats were waiting. Let them come. She was ready, because she was Colonel Rhea Valkyrie Strand, and this was only the beginning.